Hey crafty cuties, welcome back to Paper Terrace. If you're new, I'm Jessica. Today we are going to make watercolor dyed paper. Now I've made probably 2 videos on this similar process before. I think I called it unicorn dyed paper, and I did it a bit different, so I can find that video and link it below if you want to see another video that will be similar but probably have some different tips and tricks. Today we're just gonna hop right in. I have all of my supplies here. I almost wasn't gonna film this since I had done a video like this before, but a lot of you seemed interested. So here's a few examples of what the final papers look like. I just took these ones out of the oven. So you can make the papers look super like pastel and light colors, or you can do it darker. It's really just like coffee dyeing, but we're gonna be using ink sprays. And you might be thinking, well, why can't I just spray the ink onto the paper and call it good? And you totally could. See, I actually had some leftover coffee dyed bits from my pan, but I don't mind that. So yes, you could totally just take your papers and spray the oxide sprays on and get a super pretty look. But I wanted mine to be just more watercolory, and I love with watercolors how the final design is just very random, and I feel like you get a more precise design when you're doing the ink spray. So I'm going to show you what you can do. You'll need a pan or some kind of container of water. You'll need your watercolors. I just spilled so much water. I have my little container with all of my oxide sprays. Now you don't have to use just oxide sprays, but they do give a really pretty look afterwards, so that's what I'm going for. And to start out with some clean water, mine's blue since I've already been doing this a bit before I turn the camera on, but I like as the water gets more colored, you'll have more of a background color on your paper. So let's say we're starting with, you know, no ink in our water. You will take your colors of choice, and I like to pick like 2 to start out. 2 colors that I think mix well together, because if you pick like some random colors like orange and violet and green, you'll end up getting more of a brown kind of color. So anyways, you're gonna go ahead and just spray right on top, like 3 sprays. Just kind of randomly. I let it kind of mix around for a minute. It's really cool. I'm really trying to get rid of that glare, but that's not going to happen. And then you take your papers, and I cut mine in half because I'm needing smaller pages. And then sometimes I will just dip it in like that, and then dip it over. And then I'll see, do I want to have some more color on the background? So like I said, we're starting out with some really light colors. It's really hard to see on camera, but there is color on this paper. But let's say we want a darker image. I kind of let this float, but let a small layer of water hover over the top of the paper. I hope that makes sense. And then I will spray a little bit of extra spray, but I do it on top of the water so that it doesn't exactly give spray marks, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but you can see there. And then I'll take that out and say, okay, I like that a lot better. I'll flip it one more time, and then I'm gonna set this aside to dry just like I do with coffee dyed paper. So I'll either put it on a pan, which I'm gonna do like that. And again, even on camera, I don't feel like you can get a good idea of what the colors look like, but when you see the final photos at the end, you'll see it much better. So I'm gonna put mine on a pan because I'm gonna put them in the oven, but you can also lay them to the side to dry. We're gonna get going and do a few of these together, but I just wanted to show you. I have a little setup here to let some dry out just in the open, and I also have my lace doilies because I wanted to get some lace impressions on some of these pages. I did not clean them, so they do have old like coffee dyed colors on there, but I'm fine with that. So we're gonna get going. So for the first like batch of these, I'm going to always do a spray or 2 in the beginning, but I'm also, again, still keeping in mind what colors mix well together, because I don't really want this water to turn brown. When that does happen, I'll dump it out and start over. So you can see some colors are just darker than others, so that's really pretty and fun. I'll even play around with it for a minute, just like I would with watercolors. Let some blending happen, but not too much. I want to go ahead and set this to the side now. Okay, so then I could just dip in without adding any colors at this point and just see what I end up with. It's just all kind of a playful guessing game. So there is a light blue on the paper, but I always want it to be a little bit darker. So I just like spraying on top of the water. I think it's fun and it ends up looking really cool. Again, I'm just playing around with like that pink color kind of going around on the paper, and then set it to the side on my pan there. I'm going to dip in this paper that I did spray on top, because you can also spray before putting it in the pan and see what kind of a look you'll get. These sprays are like water soluble, I think that's the word, or they're going to, when you add water to them, they move around and they're not like permanent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's still fun. I'll definitely still use this. I'm going to set this one aside on top of that lace doily that I have. And I'm just going to keep going. I kind of want, I think I have two pinks. I do. I have Tattered Rose and Spun Sugar, if you're wondering. I have a bunch of different colors here, so I guess I didn't tell you. So I'm going to open this one up and do a couple pinks on top. When I want to get to the yellows and greens, I'll probably dump this water out, and then I'll go ahead and start with fresh water. And so we'll do that together so that you can see how different it is starting out with fresh water. These colors are so pretty. But yeah, again, these colors are super light, so it just depends what kind of a look you want, how light you want it to be. I want these to not be too dark. I like the light look. So I'm going to set these aside. Now, if you are setting these aside to dry on top of other papers that you just dyed, the colors will mix a bit. I think that gives a really pretty look. But if you are absolutely like in love with maybe one of the papers that you got, then I would not stack anything on top. But I always like to get kind of a more, I like a surprise. Okay, I'm gonna spray on top of that one with some pink and purple. And you could totally leave the spray marks if that's what you are into. I think it still looks nice. It's just not always, it's just not exactly what I'm going for. And so again, I'm gonna set these ones aside. And then the spray marks do kind of show through on the other side. I don't know if you can see that, but the spray marks you're looking at are actually from the other side. So that's kind of cool too. And sorry, I'm off camera now. I'm just putting some in the oven. So I put those in the oven. I have it at 275, and I'm just gonna keep checking on them. So I'm gonna continue this process with this color scheme and put some aside, and then we'll start fresh with some of the yellows and greens. Before I switch the water, I have some of the papers drying off to the side, and I am layering on these lace placemats to get kind of a lacy look. Again, remember, I still have old like coffee dye kind of brown colors, but I'm just gonna go with it and see what we get. It's gonna be something cool. I wanted to just show you that I have some layered here, and again, just like with coffee dyed paper, if you want to get a more pronounced look, you can treat this like a stencil, and we'll spray some extra spray on top. But what you need to do first is really make sure there's not too much excess water, because that will definitely not help. And so then you're going to take your spray, and I would use, well, actually, I'm going to use this Stormy Sky, and I'm just going to spray right on top. So again, now we're just actually playing with the papers. Now I would kind of like that, so again, there's not too much excess water. I would probably keep this on and not actually take it off for like a few hours, but just to give a peek, we can see if there's a bit of a, yeah, there is. So if you see up there at the top, you can definitely see that design coming through, but I'm gonna try to lay it back down just right. Okay, I did also realize, I don't know why I was thinking I couldn't mix greens into this color, because we'll be just fine mixing green in with the blue. So let's actually just go do that before I change out the water. I don't want to add yellow to this. I mean, it'd probably be fine. I don't know. I'm not an expert at color change, or at the color wheel. Is that what it's called? The color wheel? The color chart? I kind of have a good idea of what would mix well and what wouldn't, but anyways. I'm going to try this iced spruce, actually. So I'm just going to spray on here. Some of these colors don't spray very well, but anyways, okay, I got another half sheet. For me, it's so much easier to dip half sheets in here instead of like a full sheet because the whole thing fits. So I'm gonna also add just a little bit of bundled sage. Let's see how that works, but I'm still gonna flip it over. Okay, that looks cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'll put that over here. Now I think I'm only left with some full sheet papers. Let's just play around with one, but other than that, I am gonna go back to trimming those down. So you can just dip your whole page in and come up like that. And then you'll get both sides at once. But for some reason, I like to just drop it in and then flip it. It's just all about preference. There's no right way. I'm gonna add a little bit more because I want a bit more of that green color. And I'm just gonna let those drips. Since this is such a big sheet, I am gonna fold this in half and let it dry folded. That's just how I like to let my bigger sheets fold. Dip it back in. Set it to the side. All right, so I will cut more paper off camera. So before I show you some of the final papers that dried in the oven, I thought we would just do a couple more together using I have a fossilized amber and an orange, which is spiced marmalade. One of those. And since these are new, sometimes it takes a couple squirts to get it working. Let's just see a yellow on its own. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I like that. That is really a lot brighter than I expected. So I'm going to set this one over to the side on my little area here to dry. Actually, I'm going to put it in the oven because I have a spot open. Let's just go ahead and see, since that's such a bright color, see if we can dip one and get some leftover color. You can. So I'm also going to do just an extra little spray. Fun. Let's go ahead and just pop that one in like that. Oh my cat is trying to climb up the screen door to get in. My animals just know when I'm filming. They're like, come on, I need to be in your video. Arlo's at school right now. Wow, that is a lot darker of a color than I expected. I thought the yellow would be like the hardest one to pick up, but that's crazy how that works. Okay, now let's go ahead and I'm gonna take peacock feathers. I just want to see. Whoops, I've been kind of doing this the opposite of what I told you. I said I like to have water on top and then do the sprays, but you know, once I get into the swing of it, I don't really like think it through. I just go. Okay, now that I think you've probably got it down, you can see it's just super easy. It's a process you just can't really mess up. I'll show you some of the pages that have come out of the oven. They're crinkly, so I'll probably flatten them just by piling some books on top, but I feel like they turned out really pretty and I don't want to get those wet again. So I guess if you can see the purple, like I said, it's harder to see on camera though, because some of these colors are really, really light, and I think that's such a pretty look, but it's hard to see it on camera. But some of these turned out really cool. So I hope that you guys learned something from this. I also love when you get like contact prints from other pages. That looks so fun. But I hope that you'll grab your sprays out. Remember, you can do this with any sprays. I will say that the oxide sprays are really extra pretty. Oh, I love this right here. They have kind of a chalky look to them, and they have just really pretty pastel colors. But that doesn't mean you won't be able to get something super pretty from any inks that you have. You could probably play around with this and use actual watercolors. You totally could. it would maybe be a bit more work to get enough in the water, but you could play around with that. And I really actually like these ones that also have a bit of the coffee dyed paper, or the coffee dye on leftovers. So that's all for today's video. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you later. Bye.